quilting friends. Happy Feature Friday, everybody. Welcome to another week with me in my sewing room. I have a little tiny quilt that I found in my sewing closet that I figured we could work on together. It is all half square triangles, and I figured we'd do some custom work with it. So today we're going to go over using our point-to-point feature and fill in some of these half square triangles. So I'm going to turn you guys around so you can see the quilt and our robotic system, and let's get started. All right, guys, so here is the little cutie that I found in my closet. I totally forgot that I had ever made this, but it is tiny. It's not very big at all, so this will be a fun little project to get done. So you can see I've got kind of a variety of squares and then my background filler. So we're going to do some point-to-point work on our background filler, which is this purple kind of cross-hatched looking fabric, and see what we can do. I am on my basic layout screen after I set my safe area. So the little box you see here is just my safe area. And from here, to get to my point-to-point feature, I am going to go to my edit. And point-to-point is available on your mid and top of the line robotic system. So now that I'm in my edit, I'm going to come over here to the right-hand side of my display, and my point-to-point feature is this one here that looks like little upside-down teardrops that have a black polka dot in them, and then there's a little line that connects them. So when we engage that feature, we had a couple items across the bottom of our display. So we've got a little file, that's where we find the patterns that we're going to use, our plus sign to add our points, our pattern break symbol so that we can do multiple lines of our patterns that are not connected, and then our pattern height. And that pattern height's really important because you may be working in a space that is a different size than the original design of your pattern. So we're going to have to change pattern height possibly. So I'm going to come here into my pattern file first and choose the pattern that I'd like. And I am going to go into my recents because I already stitched out one of these designs. So hopefully it should be in here, and it is over here. So I have this little point-to-point design that I chose with a star and a couple circles on it. I thought that was appropriate for the quilt top that I'm working with. So I'm going to highlight that and hit my check mark. Once I do that, I've got a very large version of that in my upper left-hand corner. That is going to move around as I drop my points on my quilt top and change size as I do that as well. So we come over here. I can see that my pattern height is 4.10. And on my little triangles here, if I measure kind of from the middle point to the top point of my triangles, that is about 2.75 inches. So these are very small triangles compared to what that pattern height says. So I'm going to have to change that. So I'm going to open up my pattern height here. And instead of it saying 4.099 or 4.10, I know the height of my triangles is 2.75 because I measured them, but I'm going to shrink it down a little bit because I don't want my design to take up the full height of my triangle. So I'm going to put in 2.50, so 2.5 inches for the height of my design. And that is now logging over here on my pattern height. So we are going to pick our starting point for putting in our little star design. And remember that when we move our machine and drop our points, the direction of our pattern is going to depend on which direction we're moving our machine. So I'm going to start up here at the top with that triangle kind of pointing upwards and to the right. And I'm going to fill in my designs coming down towards myself. And hopefully if I do everything right, that's going to get my little star facing upright the way I want. So I'm going to line my machine up here with my needle kind of on the corner of that half square triangle. And the first thing I'm going to do is hit my plus sign. That's going to add my first point. When I do that, my robotic system is saying select the next point in my chain. So I am going to slide down to the corner of that little triangle here and select that as the next point in my chain. And when I hit my plus sign, my design has now moved from the corner here over to kind of the location within my pattern layout box. And it's a little bit smaller because it's now taken on kind of the size that I put in height-wise and also the size that I measured across that triangle. So I've now hit one triangle with those 2 points. I'm now going to move to the next corner of the next triangle going in the same direction, kind of moving that machine towards me. And I'm going to choose that next point where all these little triangles meet. And I'm going to hit my plus sign again. When I do that, I've got a chain starting and I've got the next little star design with the circles. Now I am out of space within my quilt area. I know I can't squeeze in this last triangle. There's not enough room between my machine and my bar here. So I'm going to break my chain so that I can go up in the other direction. So I'm going to hit my chain break so that I've got these two connected, but I can start a new chain. I'm going to go in the other direction. So I'm going to hit my chain break. And it says select the next point for this chain. So I'm going to move over. And now I'm going to go in the opposite direction. So I'm going away from me or upward from the right to the left. So I'm going to start here at this point, and I'm going to hit my plus sign. And then it says select the next point for this pattern chain. So I'm going to push the machine away from me and up and to the left and hit the next point on this little triangle here and hit my plus sign. And when I do that, I've now got my star going in the opposite direction. I'm going to go ahead and do this triangle next. And I'm going to go ahead and move my machine to the point in that corner of this little triangle set. And I'm going to hit my plus sign. And it's filled in that little star. So now I've got a little series of stars and triangles. And when I stitch out, it's going to start where we started. And it's going to stitch out the first star and triangle, the second star and triangle. It's going to tie off and then move over to the second one and go back in the opposite direction. So we're going to fill in this little set of 4 triangles here very easily using that point-to-point method. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on pause and get this stitched out so you guys can see what it looks like when it's finished. All right, so we got those 4 little triangles all stitched out, and that looks awfully cute. I'm really happy with that. So we can move on to the next section of our purple crosshatch fabric and fill in with our point-to-points and continue our stitch out. Now I'm going to skip this section because this is going to be filled in the exact same way as this because this was on the same angle. So we've got the same angle, so I'll do the same movement of my machine. But we can kind of look at this here. So this piece, I've got 2 triangles back to back. So let's look at how that is going to work. I will do the same method. I'm going to go into my file folder. I'm going to open up my design and add that into my space. I'm going to double check my height. And usually once you've used a pattern in point to point, if you're still in the same session, it's going to keep your pattern height. So I'm still at 2.5. And then I am going to come down to my corner here on this little 2-piece triangle that is attached. And I'm going to start here. And I'm going to move away from me because this triangle is pointing downward. So I'm going to go up and to the left first. So I'm starting here. Get that lined up. And I'm going to hit my plus sign. And now I'm going to move up to the peak of these 2 triangles being together. And I'm going to hit my plus sign again. And that lays out that first star and circle pattern. So that's going to go in this block. But now I'm going to actually come down this side so that it lays out my star and circle pattern next to it. So I am going to just slide my machine down to this corner here and hit my plus sign again. And when I do that, I get my little triangle filled in. As you can see, this is a fun process to get pieces filled in on your quilt top fairly quickly and accurately, as long as you're hitting those points within your pieced quilt top. I really like this method to do kind of custom quilting, and I've used it a lot, but it has taken a lot of practice for me to get the hang of which direction to move my machine to make sure that my design is facing in the right orientation. You saw me use point to point with my borders, and now you can also see point to point used within your quilt top on something like these half square triangles. So it's a great feature if you've got it available on your robotic system. Give it a try and have fun with it. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon.